What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. It's Skylar and Pedro. Of course, you know, had to do another deck tech. This one we got this time is my gold deck, dragon slash gold. It was a pre-con, Dungeons and Dragons. Kind of changed it up. I went for the dragon theme. I got some cards in here that aren't dragons, but mostly we are building around this commander. We'll go ahead and read it off. FirkRaag, Cunning Instigator, flying haste whenever one or more dragons you control attack an opponent, go target creature that player controls. Whenever a creature deals damage to one of your opponents, if that creature had to attack this combat, you may put a +1/+1 counter on FirkRaag, Cunning Instigator, and you draw a card. So you guys know I love drawing cards. He gets bumped up from an opponent's goaded creature. We do cast spells in here that goad creatures. We have dragons, of course, that when they deal damage, they goad. Our commander himself, it has Haste, aka haste. So as soon as he hits the field, he can swing in. He is a 5 mana cost, so a little bit higher, but not too bad. Real fun commander. And it just makes people attack with cards they're trying to let sit. And we're going to start off the deck tech with our creatures. Then we'll get into the artifacts after that. For now, we'll just file the deck to the side. Now check this out. Just got this card from Skylar. He gave it to me. He had got a foil of it or something like that, or a different artwork of it, and he didn't need it, so I was like, I'll use it. But Minion of the Mighty for 1 red has Menace, Pact Tactics. Whenever Minion of the Mighty attacks, if you attacked with creatures with total power 6 or greater this combat, you may put a dragon creature card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. So it synergizes with our deck. Our commander right here likes dragons swinging in, so even though he's a 0/1, if we are able to swing into an opponent who has maybe 1 creature or 2 creatures and he has to block multiple things, then he will allow a dragon to enter the battlefield for free. Getting into the next one, Sprite Dragon, flying haste, blue-red. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Sprite Dragon. So we got a lot of spells in here. We got enchantments, we got artifacts, and anytime we play any of those, this little guy right here gets pumped up, and he has haste, so that's what's very important. Little 1/1, don't matter what dragon it is, as long as it deals damage to a player, we can goad something of that player's battlefield. Going into the next one, Dragon Speaker Shaman. Now this right here allows our dragons to cost less. 1 colorless and a red for this little dude right here. Dragon spells you cost 2 less to cast. Now, real nice. Makes everything cheap. Our commander cheap. Yeah, allows us to play our bigger dragons earlier. That's very important. Now here's one guy who is not a dragon, but bothersome. Quissit, 2 colorless and a red. Menace. Goaded creatures your opponents control can't block. That's important because we don't want the little guys to be getting hit when we do goad their stuff. But whenever you cast a non-creature spell, go target creature an opponent controls. Just like the guy who gets bumped up, whenever we cast any artifact, instant, sorcery, enchantment, it allows us to goad something, and that's the theme of the deck, is mostly goad / dragon. Live on. This guy right here, 2 colorless and a red, legendary creature, Dragon Shaman. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, target creature gets +X/+0 until end of 10, where X is that mana value. So it allows us to bump up our dragons. We can make that little red guy 0/1, give him +X until end of turn, where X is that mana value, so it'll make him a little bit harder to block. Now this guy right here, nasty. Probably, I like these little cards like this, but he is nasty. Renary, Merchant of Marvels. 3 colorless, a blue. Legendary creature, Dragon Artificer, uncommon. You may cast dragon spells and artifact spells as though they had flash. And you could choose a background so he can be a commander. But this guy right here just allows our dragon and artifact spells to have flash. So most important part is that dragon part, but the bonus is the artifacts. We do play artifacts in here, which we'll get into next after the creatures. Right here is Mocking Doppelganger. She is not a dragon, but she is a shapeshifter. She has flash, and she can enter the battlefield as a copy of a creature an opponent controls, except it has other creatures with the same name as this creature are goaded. So, a lot of times an opponent has a creature that is nice, whether it's their commander, whether it's anything powerful, you can just become a copy of it. Doesn't destroy it, but it does make it start having to swing to other people instead of you. So that's the game plan. We got Solemn Simulacrum. He came in this pre-con thinking about changing him out, but for now he's in here and you already know what he does. 4 colorless, enters the battlefield. You may search a library for a basic land card, put that card onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. When he dies, you draw a card. So just let them in there. Didn't really change him around, mostly changed the other creatures. Vengeful Ancestor, 2 colorless, a red. Spirit Dragon. Whenever Ancestor enters the battlefield or attacks, goad target creature. Another goad target, and he's a dragon himself, so whenever he does deal damage, that trigger happens again to goad something else. But whenever a goaded creature attacks, it deals 1 damage to its controller. So, as much stuff as we're going to be goading, it allows us to deal damage to the opponent. Now this card I was kind of hesitant about. I didn't know if I should take it out or in, but this is Territorial Hellkite, 2 colorless, red. At the beginning of combat on your turn, choose an opponent at random that Hellkite didn't attack during your last combat. Hellkite attacks that player this combat if able. If you can't choose an opponent this way, tap him. So he's good early game, but once you start dwindling down to the last few opponents, it taps himself. But comes out early as a 2 colorless, red, 6/5, and that's pretty strong. Does have haste, so he just comes out swinging right away. And with our commander, allows us to goad. Good old Gold Span Dragon, 3 colorless, red, flying, haste again. When it attacks or becomes the target of a spell, create a treasure token. Treasures you control have sacrificed his artifact to add 2 mana of any one color. So, creates treasure tokens when he attacks or becomes the target of a spell. And he allows our artifacts, treasures, to cost 2 mana instead of 1. Ramping at its finest. That card's real nice. This card's another one of my favorites. I like the artwork, the way the card is just made, half blue, half red. But this is Lausanne, Dragon Legacy. Flying whenever you cast an adventure spell or dragon spell. Lausanne, Dragon's Legacy, Lausanne, deals damage equal to that mana value to any target that isn't a commander. So, allows us to deal damage to a lot of stuff. Any target, player, creatures, whatever they have. Planeswalker, we could just get rid of it easily. Ganax, Astral Hunter, flying. Whenever Ganax or another dragon enters the battlefield under your control, you create a treasure token. Synergizes with Gold Span Dragon, allows us to create treasure tokens. Now this, you can choose a background if you want to make it a commander, but we just have it in the deck. Real nice card right here. Illimeth, Desert Doom, flying, has Ward 4 as long as it's untapped, so when it's not attacking or tapped, it has Ward 4, so somebody, in order even to target it, has to pay 4 colorless. But when he deals combat damage to a player, you draw cards, and if you have fewer than 3 cards in your hands, draw cards equal to the difference. Real nice. Replenishes hand, especially if we cast too much, don't want to run out of juice. This guy right here, he is not a dragon, but he himself stops people from wanting to attack you. Khazil, Tyrant of the Cliffs. Whenever a creature an opponent controls attacks, if you're the defending player, create a 3/3 red ogre creature token unless that controller pays 3. So if anybody's swinging at you, you get to create a 3/3 and you get to block with a 4/4. So if they even want to come at you, they can try. It's kind of nice. Makes them scared to attack you. Threw this card in here. Hypersonic Dragon. Flying Haste. You may cast sorcery spells as though they had flash. I said, why not? It's a dragon. Has flying and haste, so that's very important because just like our commander, just comes out, starts swinging, don't have to wait. But you may cast sorcery spells as though they had flash, and that's a bonus. Reyuzi, the Falling Star, 5 colorless and a red, Dragon Spirit. When it dies, it deals 5 damage to each creature without flying. So, for some reason, he dies. Mostly all our stuff is flying. Deal 5 damage to each creature without flying. Same thing. When this guy dies, he gains control of target creature. Dragon Spirit, Kelga, the Tide Star. Same type of card, but different color, blue-red. Here we got Horde, Smelter Dragon, flying, destroy target artifact. Horde Smelter Dragon gets +X/+O until end of turn, where X is the artifact's mana value. This right here allows us to destroy pesky artifacts opponents has, and he gets pumped up for it, so that's a bonus. And mainly is just the effect of destroying stuff, and he's a dragon, so he'll pop off our goad, which is real nice. Always want to be able to pop off that goad. Now this guy is pretty strong, but Terrio of Montvelus, 5 colorless, 2 red, flying double strike. When it enters the battlefield, creatures you control gain double strike until end of turn. When this guy comes out, we have a board state, flying dragons, a couple of them with menace or whatever it is. They're going to deal damage twice. So dealing damage twice allows us to, I don't know if it technically allows us to double goad, but I think we at least still get 1 goad because it's just 1 per opponent. But we get double damage. This right here, gotta play Niv-Mizzet if we're playing blue-red dragons. Why not? This spell can't be countered. Flying, whenever you draw a card, deals 1 damage to any target. Whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery spell, you draw a card. So this just allows us to draw cards from people playing Magic, and we deal damage to them. And whenever we deal damage to them, we goad something to them. Niv-Mizzet, the Fire Mine, flying, other version of Niv-Mizzet, how to play both. Flying, whenever you draw a card, deals 1 damage to any target. Tap, draw a card. Card draw, you know I like that, but it's a 4/4, 2 colorless, 2 blue, 2 red. Dragon, so goad effect pops off if commander's out. Warmonger, Hellkite, all creatures attack each combat if able, so people trying to hold back little things, hold back creatures they don't want to attack with, don't matter, you got to swing in either way. Attacking creatures get +1/0 until end of turn. You can pop this up more than 1 time, so if we're going in for the kill, it's pretty nice. Steel Hellkite, 6, colorless, is a dragon artifact creature, so we'll get flash from the guy who gives artifacts and dragons flash. Flying, 2 colorless, gets +2/+0, or +1/+0 until end of turn. But the main effect for him is X. Destroy each non-land permanent with mana value X whose controller was dealt damage by Steel Hellkite this turn. Activate only once each turn. So the crazy thing is, if we swing at somebody, we goad one of their creatures, destroy anything else that's a certain mana value if we have the extra mana value, or mana open. It'd be kind of crazy. Drakusif, Maw of Flames. Flying, whenever Maw of Flames attacks, deals 4 damage to any target and 3 damage to each of up to 2 other targets. So this is when he attacks. So that right there is pretty strong to be able to deal 4 damage to any target and 3 damage to up to 2 other targets. Kind of crazy. Thunder Dragon. When it enters the battlefield, it deals 3 damage to each creature without flying. So, never know. Might come in, might destroy some stuff an opponent has. Might not, because 3 is not that much damage for board wipe, but at least it deals damage going in. Now, like I said, we don't play all dragons in here, but Hullbreaker Horror, Flash, very important. This spell can't be countered, very important. Whenever you cast a spell, very important. Choose up to 1. Return target spell you don't control to his owner's hand. Return target non-land permanent to his owner's hand. So, just allows us to bounce stuff, be annoying. Hullbreaker Horror, game-changing card. Had to play it. Last dragon we have, Astrio Dragon, came in a pre-con. Real nice, looks like stars. One of my favorite artwork cards in this deck. But when it dies, create 2 tokens that are copies of target non-creature permanent, except they're a 3/3 dragon in addition to their other types. So, and they have flying. So if this thing dies, we can copy 2. We can make 2 copies of Soul Rings, and it's still a 3/3 dragon, but it still taps for 2 colorless. Real nice dragon. Real nice. Synergizes with the deck. You could have just went to a full gold theme with this deck, but we did not do that. We like dragons, and we like playing dragons. So I decided I wanted to play dragons. To each their own. You can build this deck however you want. Go to edhrec.com. It'll help you out. It'll help you decide which kind of theme you want to do, which deck you want. But we're going to get right into the artifacts. Soul Ring, of course, you know we got to play it. 1 colorless, add 2. Wayfarer's Bauble, real nice. 1 colorless, 2 colorless. Look for a basic land, put that card into the battlefield tap. So, got a lot of ramp in here. Is it Signet? 2 colorless, 1 colorless, add blue-red. Arcane Signet, Commander Staple. Add 1 mana in your commander's identity. But as you guys can see, this one came with different artwork. Has a little ring, bada bing, bada boom. Like that artwork. Felwar Stone, add 1 mana of any color that a land an opponent could produce. So not your land, but an opponent's land, but still 2 colorless. Mind Stone, add a colorless, sacrifice it, draw a card for 1 colorless. Talisman of Creativity, 2 colorless, add a colorless, or add a blue-red, and it deals 1 damage to you. Now here where we get a little spicy. Thank you, Skylar, for giving me the spiciness. But since I was changing this to a dragon deck, I added this card in here. Carneo Orb of Dragonkind, 2 colorless and a red. For add a red, if that mana was spent on a dragon creature spell, it gains haste until end of turn. So just allowing our dragons to come in and swing. That's what we really want. That's what we really want. And we're going to go ahead and go to the other one first. This one's a foil. Labis Orb of Dragonkind, 2 colorless and a blue. But same thing, but different. Add blue. When you spend this mana to cast a dragon's creature spell, you scry 2 instead. So basically what you mean by scry 2 is you look at the top 2 cards of your library, then put any number of them on the bottom of your library and the rest on top in any order. So allows us to fix the top deck, allows us to see what we want to get. Another Dragon Horde, another good card, but it enters the battlefield under your control. Put a gold counter on Dragon's Horde. That's whenever a dragon enters, and you get to remove a gold counter from Dragon Horde and draw a card. So allows us to get card draw from this. It is 3 colorless, but adds 1 mana of any color. Double effect. You know we're playing dragons, so you know we're going to get some stuff. We'll be able to remove gold counters and basically get a go ahead, get our thing going. Last but not least, Hedron Archive for 4 colorless, add 2 colorless. Pretty nice. So far, I didn't really change this deck too much. Like, I didn't upgrade it to be super duper crazy. I just added a bunch of dragons in there to make it my theme that I wanted. I did add some cards in here, as you saw, but for the most part, this deck is just fun to play. It's not no tier 0. You can actually play it with friends, and other friends can actually play Magic. It's not a turn 1 win. I don't like those type of decks, because what's the point of playing Magic if you're going to win on the first turn? Or just go infinite? Like, you a scrub, I see. Like, I don't know. Misdirection, 3 colorless, 2 red. Never going to pay that. You may exile a blue card from your hand rather than pay Misdirection's mana cost. Change the target of target spell with a single target. So, somebody tries to get rid of our commander, do anything targeting wise of our board, we most likely will have a blue card in our hand. We can just exile a blue card from our hand and change the target of target spell. That's kind of crazy. Rewind, you already know what that does. Counter target spell, untap to 4 lands. Basically a free counter spell. Had to throw it in here. We are playing blue, so I had to add some type of control. Domineering Will. Target player gains control of up to 3 target non-attacking creatures until end turn, and tap those creatures. They block this turn if able. So we're going to be goading a lot of stuff. And whenever an opponent is swinging at another opponent, we can untap the other opponent's creatures, give it to the opponent that is being attacked, and now they have to block with those. So we can deal double damage to each opponent. Right here we got Reigns of Power, 2 colorless, blue. Untap all creatures you control and all creatures target opponent controls. You and that opponent each gain control of all creatures the other controls until end of turn. Those creatures gain haste until end of turn. So, somebody has a big board state. We don't really have anything. We can just exchange creatures, swing in, be kind of crazy. Now, I play this card and a lot of my red decks. I like it, even though it's a common. I think it's a real nice card. Big score, 3 colorless and a red. As an additional cost to cast this spell, discard a card, which draw 2 cards and create 2 treasure tokens. 2 treasure tokens basically makes me think this spell only costs a colorless and a red, and we get to draw 2 cards, but we had to discard a card. I don't know. I really like this card. You guys can drop in the comments what you think. I do got the foil of it, so that gold is glistening and that light. You know, if you're playing red, you need Chaos Warp. Most definitely shuffle target card into an opponent's library, and they get to shuffle it, flip the card, put that card onto the battlefield if it's a permanent card. Now, Thrill of Possibility, you guys seen in the pack opening. We pulled anime card version of this. Real nice, real beautiful. Like I said, this card is good. I already had this card in this deck, but I had the other version. But since I pulled this artwork, I threw it in here. As an additional cost to cast this spell, discard a card, draw 2 cards. Kind of like the other thing, except it costs 2 less. And we don't get treasure tokens, but we do get to draw 2 cards. Drawing cards is very important. If you discard something you don't really need at the time, which you already know if you're playing Magic, there's some cards that you have in hand that aren't really helping. So that allows you to basically fix your hand. Chain reaction deals X damage to each creature, where X is the number of creatures on the battlefield. So depending on how many creatures are on the battlefield, we can board wipe. Blasphemous Act, definitely a board wipe. You already know. Spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature on the battlefield, deals 13 damage to each creature. Staple in red, I guess you can say. Disrupt Decorum, goad all creatures you don't control. That's kind of crazy right there. Just everything everybody has that we don't control is now goaded. If our commander is out, whenever a creature deals combat damage to one of your opponents, if that creature had to attack this combat, you may put a +1/+1 counter on it. So if everything an opponent controls attacks, then this is going to become so big, and we're going to draw a card. And it says whenever a creature deals combat damage. So for each creature, we get that effect. Kind of crazy. Let's get into the next card. Now this also is a goad, but put Spectacular Showdown for a colorless and a red. Does have overload. The overload is kind of crazy. Put a double strike counter on target creature, then go to each creature that had a double strike counter put on it this way. So this deck kind of helps people, wants them to attack your opponent and not you. So if we give them double strike and they have to be goaded and they have to attack other opponents, then basically it's just crazy. Goading is just, I don't know. I like the mechanic. It's fun making people attack with stuff they don't want to. They get a little upset, but it's kind of cool. This right here is a nice little removal. Blue, X, Curse of the Swine. Very important. People are playing indestructible creatures, which that don't matter with this. Exile X target creatures and just give them 2/2 green boar creature tokens. So don't matter if it's indestructible. We'll get rid of that. Get them out of here. Kick them out. Now right here we got Psychic Empress. Enchant creature. Enchant creature gets +2/+2 and is goaded. When it attacks, you scry 2. Put this on an opponent's creature. Pump it up. Every time it attacks, we get to scry 2. Same thing right here. It's goaded, but whenever it attacks, you create a treasure token. Shiny Empress. 2 colorless and a red. Now this right here. Curse of Verbosity. 2 colorless and blue. Enchant player. Whenever enchant player is attacked, you draw a card. Each opponent attacking that player does the same. So put this on an opponent who's getting ahead. Makes people want to target him so they can draw cards. But even if creatures are goaded, we're going to be drawing so much. Dragon's Tempest. Whenever a creature with flying enters the battlefield under control, it gains haste, which is mostly all our dragons have flying. And also, whenever a dragon enters the battlefield you control, it deals X damage to any target, where X is the number of dragons you control. So, bonus, plus. We got dragons for days, buddy. Go ahead and do some damage to people. Now, this one's one of my favorite. Curse of Opulence for 1 red. Each opponent attacking that player does the same, but whenever a enchanted player is attacked, create a gold token. A gold token is an artifact with sacrifice this artifact to add 1 mana of any color. Basically a treasure token, except they call it a gold token on this card. I don't know why, but it is what it is. Now, you guys did see me pull this card out of a pack. This is the deck I was telling you guys I threw it in. And the reason I threw it in here is because I do play some cards in here that are not dragons. And this allows us for 1 colorless and 2 red to enchant our own creature. Enchanted creature that gets +1/+1, has flying and haste. And for 1 colorless, this creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn. It's a dragon in addition to its other types. And whenever an enchanted creature dies, return Draconic Destiny to its owner's hand. So this keeps bouncing to our hands. Allows us to make our non-dragon creatures dragon. Allows us to pop off with our commander and goad it. Guess you can call this my pet card. I don't know. It's foil. Pulled it out of pack. Real nice. I like it. That's all that matters if you play cards you like. Lylan of Anticipation, 2 colorless and a blue. If it is in your opening hand, you may begin with it on the battlefield. So if it is in our opening hand, that'll be nice. But if not, you may cast non-land cards as though they have flash. So everything gets flash that we have, non-land cards. And for 2 colorless and a blue, or free if it's in our opening hand. Now, we don't want people attacking us. Propaganda, 2 colorless and a blue. Creatures can't attack you unless they pay 2 for each creature they control that is attacking. Very important. Now, another thing that's important, if we can't stop them from attacking us, whenever a permanent deals damage to you, we just return it to his owner's hand. So if they do get in for whatever reason, then it just bounces to their hand. they have to replay it. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. 2 colors in a blue. Recognize. I don't even know how to say that. Big word, mission. That's what we're going to call it. That's the deck tech right there. Go ahead, show you guys the land base. Didn't really change this around too much. I did add some cards, but I didn't really change it too much because I like the land in here, and I'll show you why. Temple of Epiphany. This came in the deck, but blue-red, scry 1. Came in the deck. Easier Boilerworks. Comes in tapped, but return a land, add blue-red. Came in the deck too. Add blue-red, comes into play tapped for 4 colorless, scry 1. Cascade Bluffs, add a colorless, add a blue or a red, add 2 blue-red, or red-red. Added this card in here, Frostboil Snars. Came from Strixhaven. Strixhaven is one of my favorite sets. Enters the battlefield, you may reveal an island or a mountain. If you don't, enters the battlefield tapped, but most likely we do have an island or a mountain in hand, and this adds blue and a red. Now, did have Steam vents. I have a couple copies of this, so since it is a blue-red deck, threw it in here. Shock land, pay 2 life, comes into play untapped. Castle Vantress, enters the battlefield tapped unless you control the island, add blue for 2 colors and a blue, scry 2. And this is why I didn't want to take out these lands, but as you can see, island, and it says a little phrase on it, as you sail past the imposing sea tower of Baldarian, you realize that the breaking your friend out of that prison will be much harder than you thought. And each land kind of has a different text to it. As you gaze down upon worms crossing, you hear distant cries of alarm, and you notice that all traffic on the bridge has come to a halt. You're about to disembark to find the harbmaster when you spot our merfolk darting underneath your ship. So, a lot of these just have the words on them. And why I kept it in there. They all have it. Even the mountains just have the writing on it, and I didn't want to change too much in the deck because it just looks amazing. I love these lands. Land base I didn't really change, like I said. I did add some land, but I try to keep as much of the written lands on there. Command Tower, different artwork, amazing. You already know what that does. Path of Ancestry, you already know. Add a mana of any color in your commander's color identity. When that mana is spent to cast a creature spell that shares a creature's type with it. Scry 1, so we're going to be scrying 1 every time we do a dragon. Temple of the False God, add 2 colorless, activate if you only have 5 or more lands. Thinking about taking that out. I don't really like that card, even though it does add 2 colorless, but I like having my color mana rather than extra 2 colorless. But add a colorless, keep this card in here for basic land cycling. Discard this card, search a library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand. No maximum hand size. 1 colorless and a blue, draw a card, then discard a card. And Mirrored Landscape, mana fixing basically. For 2 colorless, we get to look for up to 2 basic land cards, share a land type with them, put them onto the battlefield tap, then shuffle if we sacrifice it. Or if we don't, it just adds for a colorless. Most likely, we're going to try and mana fix, get our blue-red, do what we got to do, make sure we have it. That's the deck tech, guys. FirkRaag, Cunning Instigator. If you guys like this deck tech, stay tuned. I'm going to be uploading another one. My landfall deck is up next. But for now, peace out, guys. Till next time.